following segment is sponsored by U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Investing in America's infrastructure is critical to our economic recovery, prosperity, and quality of life. So what does investing in infrastructure and infrastructure legislation mean for our city? Joining us to discuss is Executive Vice President and Chief Policy Officer for U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Neil Bradley. Neil, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Okay, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is a top priority for President Biden and has garnered support from both business and labor, as well as 69 U.S. senators. What excites you so much about it, Neil?
Well, I think what I'm most excited about is we're finally going to turn all this talk about infrastructure into actual action. You know, for years, politicians on both sides of the aisle have been talking about fixing our deteriorating roads, our crumbling bridges, of getting those lead water pipes replaced, of dealing with the drought and the resiliency issues that in particular are confronting the Western United States. But nothing ever seemed to happen. Now we have a bill that can actually turn all this talk into projects.
Yes, so true. Okay, and how will our area benefit from these infrastructure investments, Neil?
Sure. So let's talk roads first. About $2.5 billion coming into Utah to help with things like State Route 7. Public transit money. It's really important in the South Transit Corridor, finishing that project. We're talking about $623 million coming in for public transportation projects. And of course, we're all focused on what we can do about resiliency and the drought. We have about $360 million coming into Utah, into the Salt Lake City region for closing that water gap. And those are really important investments that frankly are just long overdue.
Yes, wow, that's amazing. Okay, when will we start to see some of these projects happen?
Well, you know, that depends because, you know, you mentioned we had 69 votes in the U.S. Senate in favor of this bill. It's passed the Senate. It now has to pass the House of Representatives. We could have a vote in a matter of days there. If the bill fails for whatever reason, then none of those projects we just talked about, none of that investment, none of it occurs. But if it does pass, and the bill certainly does deserve to pass, then we know that state and local governments already have a list of their top priority projects where they're going to put that money first. We're going to see engineering work done over the winter. We're going to see shovels in the ground in the spring and the summer. And so we're going to see the fruits of this bill really soon, provided that Congress passes it.
Yes, and Neil, I can tell you're very excited about this. You must love your job, correct?
Well, I do, because we finally have a chance to make a difference. You know, I think about families, you know, who are stuck in traffic, wondering if they're going to get home in time to take their kid to a soccer game. You know, when I think about, you know, the plumber who, you know, who does 2 fewer jobs a day because they're stuck in traffic or they can't get the supplies that they need, you know, and I'm passionate about fixing these things because I think it means a better quality of life for people there in Salt Lake City and across the nation.
Love it. Neil, thank you for the information. You can go to the website on your screen if you want more info. Neil, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much for having me, Carrie.